Okay, take two. Rev Rich Lang, pastor, University Temple Methodist Church in the U District, author of a terrific column in Real Change newspaper that aids the Seattle homeless, visiting here on March 26th. Thank you, Reverend. And looking at the Orthodox Jew under barbed wire. And what do you think, Your Grace?
Well, because I know the story, but what I was sharing just a few minutes ago is, on the one hand, it's so discordant to me because I can see it as a blessing, that there's a blessing going forth. I mean, the imageries of the prayer shawl, the positive imageries, the color, and yet I begin to look at his eyes, and his eyes show sorrow and despair. And then, of course, you've told me the story behind the scenes, and this is a prisoner probably about to die. Mm-hmm. And again, as you expand out, mm-hmm. You can, there can be some images, especially with the spike of violence. So it'll be interesting how people interpret this if they don't know the background to the mm-hmm. story, but at the same time, the prisoner's eyes mm-hmm. tell a whole story.
That's an interesting thing you mentioned there about how you see his eyes reflecting sadness. Yeah. Because as I've understood it, there were some Orthodox Jewish, very observant religious prisoners also facing execution, were at peace with their faith, right. And they were able, at least so as I've heard, were at peace with their pending deaths. They would have been reciting the Shema prayer, the Judaism's most kind of like holy prayer, Shema Yisrael Adonai. Never mind. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one, which you say before you're going to die or before you're going to be killed. Yeah. And of course, it's conjecturally guessing. We can't put ourselves in the place and time.
Well, and that just reminds me just mm-hmm. what you said. I mean, it's Psalm 44, where the people have been faithful. They've done nothing wrong, but Yahweh has walked away from the covenant. And so the Psalm 44 is an appeal to Yahweh to wake up, to come down, to fix this mess, because mm-hmm. we've done nothing wrong.
So what is the Psalm?
Psalm 44.
And which is how long is it? How long is it?
No, it's not huge.
Mm-hmm. What is without saying the whole psalm? What is it saying? And
it's the people are being squashed and oppressed, but they have kept the covenant. They have been faithful. So there's an accusation really against Yahweh that you have not kept the covenant, and so you need
Jewish
to come,
people. You mean?
Yes.
So when you say Yahweh, you're using we don't use this word because we don't say it. But the whole point of my work is interfaith dialogue, as a lot of what you do. Is what you mean by God. Yeah.
And
mm-hmm.
there's only a few of those psalms, but it is a profound expression of keeping faith even when you feel that God is not keeping faith. Mm-hmm. And to me, the Holocaust raises all those issues. Where mm-hmm. was God? Mm-hmm. And at any rate, so to see his eyes, mm-hmm. the despair, the perhaps the resignation, and yet still keeping faith. Mm-hmm. With prayers.
Mm-hmm. Thanks.
So,
yeah, that brings to mind a passage I remember from Elie Wiesel's Night, which I read decades ago. And there, he and other inmates are in this courtyard in one of the concentration camps at Buchenwald or Bergen-Belsen, something like that. And they're watching the execution of some prisoners, one of whom is a boy, and a prisoner standing next to Wiesel, who's himself in his mid or late teens then, says, "Where is God?" And this other inmate says, "There's God," the youngster who's being onto the gallows, being hung.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, thank you, Reverend Rich.
Thank you.
My pleasure.